My name's Richard Bevan. I'm the Group CEO here at Emerald. My overall responsibility, I suppose, is to the key stakeholders for the business in terms of ensuring that the business grows sustainably into the future, but also to make sure that we serve our communities in the broadest sense in the best possible way. The way I like to think about my role in doing that is firstly setting a clear vision for the business, but probably more importantly is creating an environment and a culture that allows Emerald really to realise its potential. To do this, recognising that we're in an independent family business, it's really important that I ensure that there's perspective both on the past, the current and the future.
And how did you get to this point in your publishing career? What path did you take?
Well, interestingly, my background is not born and bred within the publishing industry. I spent 27 years in retail with large retailers such as Marks and Spencer's, Tesco, Asda, and probably most recently as the Group Finance Director and IT Director of Phoenix Stores. By training, I describe myself as a reluctant accountant, so I'm a qualified accountant, but throughout my career I focus very much on how I can, spread my tentacles, get involved in as many different areas as possible. I joined Emerald in 2009. At that point I was the Group FD, but also took responsibility as Chief Operating Officer, and then about a year later I became the CEO.
What kind of skills do you think the publishing industry will need from its workforce in the future?
I think for me key skills are very much around adaptability and willingness to keep learning. The very nature of the world in which we now live is that it's disruptive and there are new technologies coming through, there are new ways of working, there are new expectations, and people need to keep themselves relevant. As much as the content needs to be relevant, the people who work in the industry have to be relevant. So it is about continuous development. The other areas that I think are very important are analytical capabilities. The very nature of our industry is that data is becoming more important. People's ability to actually interpret that data and to do the right things with it is key. Finally, I think a healthy dose of entrepreneurial spirit in terms of self-starting will always be an asset.
And what excites you most about the publishing industry?
I think what I'd say about the publishing industry as it is today is I think the pace of change is very exciting. I think the industry in some respects was relatively slow compared to some elements of the wider market in terms of areas like digital, etc. But one of the impacts of that has been in the last few years we've caught up big time, and the pace of that change I think is very exciting. Greater customer centricity, which I think is vital, and these things are actually driving the way the business matures. I think one of the great things about the industry is the notion of a societal benefit. The fact that we're actually putting something back and demonstrating and creating value for the wider society, I think is very infectious, and also that key role that publishers play in sort of bridging the gap between academic and practice. Very much part of our heritage and will still be there very much into the future.
What would you say is the biggest challenge currently facing the industry?
Multiple challenges probably facing in the industry, but as ever, every CEO would probably say, you've got to turn challenges into opportunities. And I think the one that faces at the moment is that of big data. I think big data is going to be transformative for our industry, very much as digital has been before it. We need to position ourselves to make sure that we are able to take the advantages that data will provide in us providing a more customised solution for our end user, and I think that will help to differentiate any particular publisher who gets that right.
Thinking about training versus experience, what do you think is more important in advancing a career in publishing?
Well, I suppose the political answer is both of those are important. I think the key, though, is really the output of that, and what is the learning? What is the learning that you're taking either from the experience or from the training you're receiving, and making sure that some of that learning is put into actual practice. In fact, that's the way I'd advocate that you actually get the very best value out of it, both the experience and the training. So. Probably a bit evasive as an answer, but I probably my background has been very much one of I suppose action learning and seeing opportunities to do things and making sure that I then take out the learning from each of those experiences.
And what advice would you give to your younger self starting out in a career? And what is your top tip for advancing within the publishing world?
Top tip. I suppose experience. What I would say in terms of my younger self. I think the key to me is to look at whatever role or whatever function that you start your career off, and not see it as an end in itself. And try and always look beyond the boundaries. So whichever business you join, whichever publishing house you join, really make sure that you understand how that business operates. And I mean in all senses. Make contacts across the business, liaise with other functions, really get a good handle on what makes that business tick. How does it grow? How does it operate? I think that context, is critical to people who join businesses either early in their career or later on when they actually come to join a different business. Really getting a good handle of how the business operates, and then really seeing what opportunities are there for you to make the difference. And I suppose if you go through your career with that mentality, doors will open, and then it's for you to seize the opportunity.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I would say is, I do think the industry is an exciting one. I think opportunities for looks on the sort of global scale are definitely there. We are an industry that prides itself on the communities that are built and the way that they operate, and I think there is therefore significant opportunity for people to have full and fulfilling careers. What I would advocate is that perhaps in the past, self-sufficiency was seen almost as an attribute, almost as something that defined an individual. I think those days have gone. The important thing now is that people look to work with one another. People should recognise that they can't possibly know everything, and therefore ask for help and be collaborative. That would be my only final steer.
Thank you very much.